All right. So first, good evening and welcome to our first Fall Into OBOB event. So my name is Julie and I'm the events manager at Roundabout Books. So there are a few housekeeping items we need to cover before we get started. So as I just mentioned, this event is being recorded for our YouTube channel. If you don't want to be on the video, you can turn off that function. You will still hear and see us. And then please remain muted unless you are asked to speak, and then I will unmute you. This makes sure we don't get any background noise while our author is talking. Comments and questions are welcome in the chat screen throughout the event. You can put them in there for everyone, or you can put them to just me. It'll say, Roundabout Books. So real quick too, we want to take this opportunity to acknowledge that our bookstore in Bend, Oregon resides on the ancestral unceded land of the Confederate Tribes of Warm Springs. In our immediate area are also the unceded lands of the Confederate Tribes of Siletz Indians and the Tribes of Grand Ronde. We encourage everyone to learn more about the land you occupy and the stories of its peoples. If you're looking for a specific book about that, please reach out to your independent bookstore. The booksellers would be happy to help you find those books. And then other events that are coming up, our second OBOB event is Tuesday, October 6th with Jenny England and her book, Taylor Before and After. Then our next OBOB event is Thursday, October 13th with Waka T. Brown and her book, While I Was Away. You can register for those on Eventbrite, just like you did for this one. And be sure to visit roundaboutbookshop.com for more information about our events and book clubs. As I mentioned before we got started, we now have a middle grade book club that just met last night. So if you're interested in joining that, please check it out. I see someone's got the book. They're really excited. So let's get started. Tonight, we are so excited to welcome Lily LaMotte to talk about her book, Measuring Up. Lily is a MFA, which stands for Masters of Fine Arts, or has one, from Hamline's Writing for Children and Young Adults program, and is on the SCBWI Western Washington Advisory Committee. If you're not familiar with that, it's a society for children's books, writers, and illustrators. Let's see here. It says, when you're not writing, you're watching cooking shows. Sometimes when she sees the gray clouds outside the window in the Pacific Northwest, she loads up the camper van for a writing retreat camping trip with her husband and 2 dogs. That sounds wonderful. So Lily, I'm so excited to have you here with us tonight to talk about measuring up with all of these wonderful students. So please take it away.
Thank you so much, Julie. And hello, friends. I'm so happy you're all here. I'm super excited to see you all on the screen. Let's see. So I thought we could start with a couple of icebreaker polls. My first question to you is, do you eat dessert first or last? If you could just type into the chat, and then we can take a look and see which wins, whether you eat your dessert first or last. Well, I see that Julie likes to finish with a sweet treat. Well, it sounds like last is very much winning here. Last normally. I see someone, Mary, says both. That's actually a pretty good idea. Start it off and then finish it at the end. Okay, I see a first. Well, I usually eat mine last too. And the reason I do it is because when I like to get rid of the stuff I don't like on my plate first, then just kind of get it over with. There's a book actually called Eat the Frog, and it's basically, Julie is nodding her head. She knows this book, right? It's all about doing the things that you don't like first to get rid of it. And now you can relax, right? So in terms of my dinner, it means the things I don't want to eat. And if you've read Measuring Up, you can see that Cici does not like bitter melon. And I remember being a kid and my mom would make bitter melon for dinner. I don't know if any of you have actually had it. If you had, put it in the chat because I would love to know if you're one of those people who've been served bitter melon. But just like the name says, bitter melon, it is bitter. And like, who wants to eat bitter foods, especially when you're a kid, right? So it's like, oh, okay. Oh, done. Now I can enjoy the rest of my meal. So that's why I eat my dessert last. All right, the second question I want to ask you is, do you prefer sweet or salty snacks? Oh, Jojo says that her my dad made me eat it. I'm so sorry. Okay, a lot of sweet and salty snack answers here. Anybody else? Oh, here's a salty. Depends on the day. That's also a good answer. Salty except when there's a special event. Depends on the mood. Some sweets. Okay. I see the answers are all over the place, and that's great. Well, I will say that I am definitely a huge salty snack person, and I love potato chips, right? But as we all know, Jojo loves potato chips too. It's not something we're supposed to be eating, right? Like, we're always being told, don't eat the junk food. So I had this idea and I said, okay, next time I want potato chips, I said this to my husband, don't buy me any. And so it's like, oh, I want some potato chips. He went to the store, got groceries, came back, no potato chips. Oh, sadness. And then, it's like I did a few more times and I felt like, oh, now I'm making him be the bad guy, right? Because he's denying me potato chips. So I went at another point, I had an even more brilliant idea. And I said, okay, next time I ask for potato chips, bring me a potato because I can cook. I will make potato chips because if I really want it that much, I'll make it myself. So the next time I was like, oh, I want potato chips. Went to the store, came back, gave me the potato. Like, yes, potato chips is coming. So I got out my handy dandy mandolin. And this is, you can see here, a very sharp blade, okay? And I know it's sharp, and I know we're supposed to be careful. And I said to myself, I'm gonna be careful when I'm doing this. So I got the potato, I got the mandolin, and I'm just like slicing, right? And it goes so fast. It was like way faster than I thought it would be. And then next thing you know, I have sliced off the top layer of my finger. And there's blood everywhere, including the potato. So there was no potato chips that night. So it was a very, very, very long time until I said, I want potato chips. But eventually it happened. So my husband went to the grocery store, got me the potato, and I said, I'm gonna really smart this time, right? I got my mandolin. Oh, by the way, it came with the safety device I was supposed to use, which I did not the first time. I said, I'm gonna use the safety device this time. And then for extra protection, I bought cutting gloves. So you're supposed to wear these things when you're cutting anything super sharp or opening oysters. And we're from the Pacific Northwest, right? A lot of us love our oysters. And so gloves, safety device, mandolin, potatoes. Slice it up. No problem this time. And so I fried it up in butter because I love butter and it seems like everything tastes better with butter, and it was delicious. And then that was my potato chip saga. I did a couple more times, but I think I went back to saying, hey, can you buy me some? All right. Oh, Josephine hates seafood. Maybe when you're older. I remember hating seafood when I was a kid. Maybe it's like something you grow into. All right. So now I have a video I like to show you. It's the reading of the first chapter of Measuring Up. And I want to thank Studio East for helping me make the video. Let me get it up. Oops. There. All right, I'm going to share screen now. Okay, can you all see that? All right, there you go.
Special thanks to Lonnie Brockman and Studio East for putting this reading together.
Chapter 1. In a small town in Taiwan. My life in Taiwan is sweet. My favorite is mango flavor, but Shulan and Shukin always get lychee. We never get tired of watching the panda or running on the dragon bridge, but Ama, grandmother, is the best part. Every Saturday after Ama finishes her second cup of jasmine tea, we head to the morning market. It's my favorite part of the weekend. The morning market smells like a candy store.
Bitter melon is healthy.
Ama only speaks in Taiwanese. Yuck!
I promise. You won't have to try it until you're ready.
Ama keeps her promises.
Let's surprise your mom and dad with cui kiao for dinner.
Yay! I want to help. Boiled dumplings. A month later,
Cici, come help us get ready for our going away party.
my parents decided to move to America. I do not want to go.
Cici, come here. I need you.
Ama to the rescue.
See how the water is cloudy?
Like soybean milk. Like my future.
You must wash the rice until the water runs clear.
Come with us to Seattle.
I wish I could. It's very hard to get a green card.
It's like a part of me washes away. Come visit for Moon Festival or Lunar New Year, Lantern Festival, Children's Day. I know, you'll finally be old enough to have a big birthday party.
I'll be 70 in a year.
That's forever.
A year is not that long.
Just as Ama made me a promise, I make a promise to myself that she will come for her birthday. Maybe even sooner if I keep asking her.
Now, I want to show you something. Do you know what I am sending with you?
Your super secret ingredient, Ama?
My grandmother taught me how to make it.
A long, long time ago.
My grandmother taught me. We grind, mash, powder until
My spices are the secret.
And now I teach it to you.
Are you going to teach Dad too?
Yeah, he has no interest. But you, Cici, you are always ready to learn, and part of me will go with you.
Peppery and minty? Lemony and flowery? I discover a whole new world of tastes, but I'm leaving my old world.
Please eat. There is plenty.
Amma believes tables of 3 and 8 are lucky numbers for the going away party. Dad is a scientist. He doesn't believe in numerology. Add 3 and 8. 11 can be the winner with its double ones. 1 is also the beginning and the loneliest. Will the food taste the same in Seattle? I try to memorize how it all tastes here. This is the last time my friends and I eat together. I even eat the bitter melon. That's how I say goodbye. We leave the next day.
All right. Thanks for watching my video. Okay. So how about we get into some questions? Do you have anything you'd like to ask?
So yeah, if anybody has questions, you can put them in the chat window, or if you know how to use the raise hand function, you can do that and it will let me know and I can unmute you and you can ask the question. While we're waiting for that, I'll get started. Lily, what was it like to work with an illustrator? Did they get your vision of your characters?
So the way it works in publishing, it's really interesting because I'm also a picture book writer. And so Chloe's Lunar New Year up here, which will publish in January 3rd, 2023. So in picture books, there's very much a division. You write the text and the publisher, the editor, works with the art director, and they work directly with the artist. So there is never any direct connection, communication between myself and the illustrator. In graphic novels, that is very different, I felt. So in picture books, a lot of times they give you very little say on who your illustrator is or how they illustrated it. I've certainly heard of authors who are pretty unhappy with the result of their book.
Yeah.
But my editor, she's also works a lot with graphic novels. And in graphic novels, I had to be very, very specific about how many panels are on the page. There were places where I said, I want the panel to be horizontal and I want it to stretch across the entire page, or I want it to be vertical here. And I had to describe every single thing in the panel. In fact, one of my favorite panels is this spread. If you can all see that. There are puzzle pieces, and Cici is in the middle with her chef's hat. And so when I wrote that page, I specifically said, I want this to be a full page spread. So it takes up the entire page. I want there to be puzzle pieces. And I want Cici in the middle. I sent the illustrator, I said specifically, they have to be wearing this kind of hat. I have a friend at the time who was actually in a culinary program at our local community college. And so I was able to ask him questions, and I went into the commercial kitchen that they had at the college and looked around and took photos. So I said, here, this can't be a regular like KitchenAid mixer. I need this to be a Robocoup. And but the thing is, Ann Zhu, who is my brilliant illustrator, right? So she took my words and my concept, and she drew this for me, and I love it. And basically, I felt like she mind melded with me, right? So another illustrator who may not have gotten my vision would have taken the same words and drawn something completely different. So I'm just so happy with Anne. And she's actually working on my second graphic novel too. So I'm very thrilled about that.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, Lucy has a question. So Lucy, I'm going to give you that. So it should say unmute on your screen. And then you can ask your question. Go ahead.
I'm curious if the character Cici was based off of anybody else, or like yourself or somebody you know.
I think she's based on part of the things that I've gone through. For example, her dad is very hard on her, I guess, with her grades and everything. And that was definitely something that I experienced myself as a kid. It was definitely like, you need to do really well in school. And I remember like bringing home a test and I might have like a 98 on it. And he would say things like, well, what happened to the other 2 points? Obviously, you didn't know all the material or you wouldn't have made any errors. And Cici is a super taster. So that's actually based on a friend. He is amazing. We would make dishes and he would take a taste, right? And he'd be like, I taste oregano and, like basil and whatever herbs we had put in it, he could actually pick them all out. And so when I got to that part of Cici's experience, I was like, oh, I'm going to put that in there.
Yeah, that's great. Lucy, that was a great question. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
It looks like Josephine has a question too. So hold on just 1 second. Let me get to you on this. So I'm going to put you, so Josephine, you should be able to unmute and ask your question.
Why would you write a book about cooking? Like, there's so much other stuff to write about. Why would you choose
cooking?
that one?
I think that's a great question too. It's because I used to love watching cooking shows. Like one of my favorite things to do if I went to a hotel, I don't have a TV in my bedroom, but I would sit in bed and turn the TV on and watch cooking shows. And also I didn't have cable, so those cooking shows had to be done at a hotel. But the ones that I could get on regular TV, I watched them. And this is the other thing I loved. So there's like one cooking show with adults, and the judges were just so mean to the adult contestant. But he also had a kids version of the same show. And they were so nice and supportive to these children contestants. And the other thing I loved was that all the kid contestants were so supportive of each other. And I love that. And I wanted to kind of capture that in the book.
That's awesome. I think I know what show you're talking about, and I like the version a lot better too. So we had a couple people ask what inspired you to write this book. It sounds like you kind of, answered that question in part too. But if there's more to expand on that of just, the inspiration and also a second part of that is just what inspired you to be a writer.
Okay. So when I wrote my book, as Julie said, I went to Hamlin, and I was so lucky that I was able to do a post-grad semester with Jin Yang. He wrote American Born Chinese.
Oh, awesome.
It's an amazing book. It won an award, the Prince Award. And also it is, it's in production for Disney Plus. It's going to be a show on there.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, how amazing is that? Also, Gene, of course, is a certified genius because he won the MacArthur Genius Grant.
There you go.
Let's see. He also wrote, he's like so brilliant. He wrote Superman Smashes the Klan, which is obviously, you know, a DC graphic, DC Comics. And then he has such a range, right? He also wrote this book on basketball. So
Cool.
he writes everything. So I worked with him, and I had to work, you know, come up with a book to work with him on. And so we kind of talked, and I said, well, like he was, you know, what do you like to do, and all that, you know, the questions like that. And so I thought about it. I was like, well, I love cooking. I love watching cooking shows. And then we talked about, you know, being an immigrant to the US and writing about the immigrant experience. And that's how it started.
Yeah, very good. I think Everett is next because you've had your hand up. So let me get to you real quick. So you should be able to unmute and ask your question. Go ahead.
How did you come up with the idea for a ma?
Well, when I moved to the US, I was really, really young. And so I don't actually remember my ama, but one of the stories I was told is that we had this really close, loving relationship. And so when she came home, I would be like, "Ama, you're home." And I would bring her her slippers. And I really wanted to capture that in the book because, you know, I had that experience with her, but I actually don't have the memories. So I put that in the book.
That's beautiful. Chloe asked in the chat if you like writing graphic novels or chapter books more.
I like to do both.
Okay.
So I have Measuring Up. I have my other book, Unhappy Camper, coming out. Would anyone like to see the book cover for that?
Yes, please.
Okay, great. I will share it.
Well, while you're pulling that up, let me just ask a really quick question, but what is your favorite cooking show?
I think it's that kids cooking show.
Is it MasterChef Junior?
Yes.
I love that show. That is a really fun cover. So when is this one coming out?
I believe next year.
Okay. So
I don't have a date yet, but
yeah, put that on your to be read list. And when it comes out, you know, make sure and get it from your local independent bookstore.
and it's a summer camp story.
Oh, fun.
So she is forced to go to a summer camp because her older sister's going, and she just dreads and just has no interest.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Excellent. That's awesome. All right. We've got a couple more raised hands. I think that Amber was next. So Amber, go ahead and you can unmute and ask.
Are you a super taster too?
I am not. I've heard that many chefs are super tasters.
I think a lot of people who must go into that, you know, that career field, that passion, have it. Let's see here. There's a couple. So that might answer one of the other questions in this chat, but do you want to be a chef?
Oh, I actually thought about it. I did think about it, but wow, you know, being a chef in a restaurant is a really, really difficult job. So I know when I go to a restaurant, I am just very grateful that someone's cooking for me.
That might be why Gordon Ramsay is so mean to people sometimes. I mean, he's just very stressed out sometimes.
He is.
Liana wanted to know, what is your favorite thing to cook for yourself?
I have lots of favorites. Actually, okay, so like tonight I made chili, threw in a lot of vegetables. I like to make ice cream. I have an ice cream maker and trying out different flavors. Oh, this is the other thing I will share this photo with you. Oh wait, let me show you first just before I share. Okay, you can still see me, right?
Yes.
Okay. So my husband's mom is Italian. She's Sicilian. And so this is I can't see myself, so I hope you can see this. It's a
Yeah.
pizzelle maker.
Yeah.
And it makes these really, really thin cookies. But it's like a waffle maker, right? But thin, really thin cookies, and they have these beautiful designs in them.
We have
And so
that in Scandinavian culture too. It's called a kroomkaka.
Yeah, right? And it's delicious because
They're
it's kind of
delicious.
crunchy.
Yeah.
So here, I will show you. Okay. So here's a photo of some pizzelles. And normally they are sweet. But, I said I like salty foods. So I made it savory instead. And I put butter because, again, I love butter. Oh, and this is the other thing. During the pandemic, I don't know how many of you did this, but I jumped on the sourdough train. Do we have people who also did that? You can put in the chat. So
yeah,
if you...
Yeah, who had a sourdough starter?
Yeah,
I did not
okay.
do sourdough, but I got into canning more. I started canning.
Oh,
that was
that's
my
a good idea.
Is canning, because it kind of the pandemic made me a little nervous. So I wanted to learn more about canning. So I know we have a lot of questions in the chat and a lot of raised hands. I want to make sure everybody knows we're absolutely going to get to you. So I'm going to go to Ramona next. So Ramona, go ahead and unmute and ask your question.
I just need help because I'm on an OBOB team this year and I need help pronouncing some things. Like, I don't really want to say it like and mess up. So should
It's okay. No, you just say it as the closest you think, and Lily will help you.
Okay, so one of her best friends at like the first page, Suyan.
Oh yeah, Suyan. After.
Well, the actor in that video pronounced both of the friends' names, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
So you could go back and listen to that recording, or I think is that video on your website?
It is. Is it my website? It's on my YouTube channel for sure.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I also need help pronouncing because you have to get the authors' names correct too. So I just need help pronouncing your.
It's LaMotte.
Okay. And the illustrator's name is
Anne Zhu. That one's tricky because I wasn't sure, and so I actually had to ask.
Yeah, I wasn't. My mom and I actually had to look it up online to see what it was like, if it was, and that was.
Yeah, but it's Zhu with a Z sound.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah.
It's always good to ask those things. I ask authors before almost every event just to confirm how to say their last name. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for that, Ramona. So let me check the chat. Alice, you also have your hand raised. So I'm going to let you ask the question you put in the chat in person. So hold on just 1 second. So Alice, go ahead and ask your question. There you go.
So my question is, why does Meridia not have interest in being a chef? Where did you get the idea for her not having any interest in that?
Part of it is because I feel like sometimes parents want their children to go into a particular career. But that doesn't mean that the child actually wants to go into it. I know certainly for me, there were 3 career choices that were approved, right? And I know it's a cliche, but it was certainly true in my household, right? You could be a lawyer, an engineer, or a doctor. And so I felt like I want to kind of give Miranda that part of what I went through.
Yeah, that's really good. Well, Alice had put this in the chat, and I think it's a really important question, so I'm going to go ahead and ask it still too. Why is it so hard for Amma to get a green card to visit? And that's complicated.
It's very complicated. We, as a country, right, we kind of decide how many people to let into the country. And so that's just one of the mechanisms that we use to decide who gets in, how many gets in, when they get in. And there are a lot of hoops to jump through.
Well, in the first chapter in the video, Amma makes a good point though too, is that she's older and travel, especially overseas, can be really hard on older family members. So, you know, she sees Cici as this young kid that can easily adapt to a new situation, but especially if Amma doesn't speak English, that can make it that much harder to come to a new country.
That's very true. Yeah. I know, I mean, when I moved here, I didn't speak any English either. I basically watched TV. Because back then, like today, we have a lot of ESL classes and support for speakers of a different language. And back then there was nothing. You either knew English or you didn't.
Yeah, that's a very good point with changes in everything that's going on. Let's see here. Let's go to Liana, who has their hand raised. So hold on just one second and you can ask your question. I see there's a big group on that end. Come on up.
You ready? You're unmuted. Go.
Go ahead.
So I was wondering, since Cici got kind of bullied in the book, like with the rotten worms, because like they thought her food is weird. I was just wondering if you ever got bullied in school, and how did that get inspired?
Well, I was thinking about all like the lunches, right? And I think how like different foods that are unfamiliar to other kids can be looked down upon and be ridiculed. So did I get bullied? I definitely got teased. There was one boy, every time he saw me walk by, he would make some train noises and things. It was like, ugh. And I've definitely been called names in the past, like, you know, racist type names.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that's a pretty common thing with kids, is to be scared of something they don't understand.
Right. I mean, interesting enough, I've been called a racist name by a kid as an adult. I like me being an adult having a kid call me racist names.
Yeah, I don't like to hear that. So we've got a couple more people with hands raised. Let's see here. Let's go to Justin. Go ahead.
Hi, my question is, how did you come up with the character Miranda in general?
Well, so in thinking about writing a book, we always need to have somebody who is in conflict with the protagonist, and in this case, Cici. And so I was thinking, well, what is the opposite of Cici? In a sense, right, Cici only knows how to cook Taiwanese food. And so I wanted someone who's the opposite, someone who's like really immersed in cooking. And I thought, oh, if her family actually owns a restaurant, then she knows how to cook, and maybe there's pressure on her to have to cook also. And so both Cici and Miranda in their own way are getting pressure from their own dads. And I wanted that parallel too, so that even though Miranda is sort of supposed to be the antagonist in a way, they also have things in common with each other. And I felt like, that's more real life.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great question. Thank you. Let's see here. I'm going to say your name is, well, it's probably Isla, but Isla had asked this question earlier and I was going to confirm, but they've retyped it. Do you know any recipes from the book? Do you make any of the stuff that's included in the book?
I make the dumplings.
Oh.
So one of the things that we did a lot during the pandemic was we would choose a night, and then my son, my daughter's already out of the house. She's in medical school, but my son was still at home, and my husband and we would just get all the ingredients ready, and then we would choose a movie to watch. And so we would just sit together and make the dumplings and watch movie, and then cook it, and then eat it in front of the TV. And that was just like such a nice memory to have during the pandemic.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. So we have a few more raised hands. So Amber, I'm going to give it to you again to ask a question. I think that's the parent's name.
How long and how many drafts did it take to write Measuring Up?
Oh, so many drafts. Well, the first draft was actually because I did it through Hamlin's postgraduate program. And that is actually 4 months. That's a semester. And so each month I had to turn in 40 pages. And I was so determined that my last packet that I had to send Jin, I would be able to type the end. So I worked so hard. I wrote in the morning, I wrote in the afternoon, I had dinner, and I wrote after dinner. And I was just, I actually did it. Last packet, typed the end. I was like, yes. Of course, that was only the first draft. And that's the thing with books, if you want to write books, right? Because that first draft it's okay. It's not great, but it's okay because that's what revision's for. We just work on it. I took it to my critique group. I have several critique groups a week. And we did like 5 to 10 pages a week. I bring it in, they give me comments, I take it back, I make changes. The next week, I bring them next 5 to 10 pages. And that's how we work through the book.
Yeah, that's great. So I'm going to just mention something real quick. If any of you are wanting to be writers and you want to have, some practice and some help, if you don't know, November is what's called National Novel Writing Month. And the bookstore here in Bend and some of your other bookstores where you guys are, you should check to see if they're going to have like quiet write-ins, or if your library does that, because we're going to host some so that people can come and work on anything that they're writing just at the store, like quiet time. So you should look up National Novel Writing Month. It's pretty cool.
I love that you're doing that.
Yeah, it's our first year to really do a big thing, and I'm excited. One of our booksellers is about to be published. Her book just got like agented, so
wonderful.
Really excited about doing NaNoWriMo.
Yeah.
So we've got a couple more raised hands, and I will get to you as soon as possible. I want to ask a question that's in the chat real quick. It's something Lily and I talked about beforehand. What is your favorite book not one of yours? Josephine asked that.
Oh, I have so many favorite books. Talking about writing, if you are interested in writing, I want to give a shout out to this book called Story Genius by Lisa Cron. I used it with Measuring Up and Unhappy Camper, and I'm working on a new book and use it for that too. And this one is also my other go-to. Where am I? I can't see myself anymore. But it's called Emotional Crafted Fiction. So, and also, if you want to write graphic novels, you must get Scott McCloud's book, Understanding Comics. and making comics. Okay, now to talk about the fun books. I want to, oh, of course, Roller Girl is what I read when I was working on Measuring Up. I don't know if they've talked to you in school about mentor text, but definitely Roller Girl was a mentor text for me. And of course, other wonderful books are El Defo by Cici Bell is wonderful. New Kid by Jerry Craft, and it won the Newbery, so you know it's a wonderful book.
Mhm.
This is just fun, right? Princess in Black, and there's so many of them. They just make me laugh. Let's see. Oh, When Stars Were Scattered. It's just like, it's just a wonderful, beautiful book. Becoming Brianna is wonderful, fun. Let's see. Fly on the Wall by Remy Lai. I'm not sure how to say her name. It's she's Australian, so you actually get a taste of what it's like to be Australian child. And then this one, of course, this is from the Seattle area, The Sea in Winter. Just lovely, lovely book. I've actually had a chance to talk to her. She's such a wonderful author.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing those.
Yeah.
So we do have quite a few hands raised, so let's get through those. So Alice, I'm going to start with you. So go ahead and ask your question.
So my so I have something to say before I ask my question. So I've also read El Defo and Princess in Black.
Great.
And my question is, how did you get the idea of, can't quite pronounce your name right, Meridia? I can't get it right.
Oh, Miranda?
Yeah, Miranda. Like, how did you get the idea that that she's really sad because her babysitter's leaving and she's not coming back? Like, where did you get the idea for that kind of sad thought?
I wanted to tie it back to the beginning when Amal mentioned that she couldn't get a green card. That was really difficult. And I think one of the things that people might think is that immigrants are from either South America or Asia or Middle East, but there are also a lot of immigrants from Europe. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to tie it back to that and say, hey, there are people from Europe who immigrate and need green cards too.
Sorry, my dog decided to get up, so she's Amelia, I know you've had your hand up for a long time, so let's do your question next. Go ahead, unmute yourself.
It talks about a lot of different foods and like what the ingredients are to them. Did you have to like learn what the ingredients were to some of them? Or did you just know?
Oh, you know what I did? Well, first of all, I used to have a lot of cooking books, so I collected them for a long time. The other thing is when I was working on the book, I did a Google search, right? I looked at the New York Times recipes, Food and Wine, Gourmet magazine. Like I just looked everywhere. And of course, Julia Child's book. Looking through there and saying, what recipe would each of these contestants be making? Because I was trying to make sure that each contestant was making a dish that they would want to make versus just making generic choices. And hopefully when you read it and see, oh, this contestant made this food, that would give you an indication of the type of their background or what kind of person they are.
That was a great question too. Thank you. All right, Sierra, you're next. So go ahead and unmute and ask your question.
Okay. So my question is, what was your favorite part about writing the book?
I think I actually enjoyed all of it. I'm not a very fast first draft person. Usually I really struggle writing a first draft, and then revision is easier for me because I have something to work from. But working with Jin, one of the first things he made me do was really think about the story through and write a synopsis of it. And so I actually wrote him this like 16-page synopsis, very detailed. I sent it to him and he came back and said, no, that's actually too long. You have too many details in there. He's like, cut it down to 6 pages. And that way you have like the general gist of the story. And then when you're writing the pages themselves, things will come to you that you wouldn't have thought of when you were actually writing such a detailed synopsis. And your idea then will probably be better than what you have now. And it turned out to be true.
Awesome, that's great. All right. So we're approaching our 1 hour, but we're going to keep going. We're going to answer all the questions for the hands that are raised. So we're going to go to Justin next. So go ahead and ask your question.
My question is, how did you come up with the judges?
Oh, they were, based on the judges of that cooking show that we talked about earlier.
It's good to use inspiration from real life.
Yeah.
All right, we've got another question from Leanna. So go ahead and ask that. There's quite a group there.
I was just wondering, what does your writing schedule look like?
So I try to write every morning, first thing, because if I don't, the day tends to get away from me. And then at the end of the day, I think back and thought, and it's like, oh, I've been so busy. So I try to do it first thing in the morning. And in fact, this year, one of my critique groups, we decided that every morning we were going to sign on Zoom at 7:30 and do a quote unquote virtual write together. And so we get in, we sign on 7:30, we do a check-in with each other for 5 or 10 minutes, super quick. Then we turn off our camera and mute ourselves, and we write for an hour and a half, and then come back at the end and kind of check in again.
That's great advice. That was a great question. Thank you. So it looks like a couple people had to head out, but just remember, if you do have to leave early, this will be up on YouTube so you can check out any of the other questions. Chloe has a question, and I love that your handle also says dog lover. My dog has decided to come and say hello. So Chloe, go ahead and ask your question.
What inspired you to be a writer?
I've always loved reading. I was one of those kids who read everything, even at the breakfast table. If I had a box of cereal in front of me, I would read the cereal box. So, and then when I had kids, I started, oh no, wait, hold on. I remember at one point, I think it was in high school, I thought to myself, oh, I love reading so much. Maybe I could write a book. And so I had this idea for a book that took place in a desert, and a woman, and she's on a sailboat, but it's a sailboat that actually glides on the sand and is powered by wind. And so I wrote all that down. And basically, it took only a paragraph to describe all that, right? And then I had nothing else. I had no idea what would happen next or anything. So I put it away, and I thought to myself, I'm not a writer. There's no point continuing. And then when I had my kids, I started reading them the board books like Sandra Boynton, picture books, which are super fun, and then Harry Potter. I would love those. And I think at that point I was like, oh, maybe I should try again. And that's when I started. And I joined SBWI. I took classes, made a lot of friends who are writers, and kept going. It's a long process, right? It took me like 10 to 12 years to get to this point. But if any of you are writers and you're young, so in 10 or 12 years, you'll still be young.
Yeah, you just gotta keep practicing. All right, we got a couple more. So Ramona, you're next. So go ahead and ask your question.
I have a few questions. So I was flipping through the book because I have it right here, and I noticed that there's some dishes or like things I don't know how to pronounce. And that is like I can't remember where it is, but it's like one of the dishes that Cici only like knows how to make. Oh, here it is. The sticky rice dumpling in banana leaf, which is, I think, batsang.
Oh, batsang.
Okay.
And
And
then
then,
I'm going to ask about the oil rice.
yeah, the minced pork over rice and the shaved ice.
Yeah, well, it's hard for me to say because I have to tell you, when I finally went back to Taiwan to visit, they were like, "Your accent is terrible." So yeah, I have a hard time saying that word, that one.
Okay.
And then the oil rice is you bung.
That's interesting that, yeah, your accent can change after so many years of speaking English.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really speak Taiwanese anymore.
Yeah.
I had a couple questions. What is your favorite dish to eat that Cici makes, and it doesn't have to be in the competition?
Oh, well, the three dishes that we mentioned right now, those are my three favorite dishes that she makes.
Okay, and then I also realized looked at the end, and it said that you kind of dedicated the book to Lucian, Terry, and Skylar, and I'm curious who those are. Your kids?
Oh, yeah, that's my husband and my two kids.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
They've been
Ramona,
so supportive.
Yeah, thank you for those questions. All right, we've got a couple more. Let's see here. Hold on just one second. One of the questions in the chat from Leanna was, do you ever write down your dreams?
No, because I cannot remember my dreams. I know there are people who do, and nope, I wake up, I have no idea what I dreamt.
Yeah, that's interesting. All right, we've got a couple more raised hands. So Alice, you're next. Go ahead.
So I have a question. So like I can't remember it. Can I think for a second?
Yeah, we can come back to you. Okay, I'm going to mute you and we'll come back. So let's do JD. Let's do your question. We got time for probably 3 more. So let's do this. Yeah, JD, go with your question.
So if you can change your job, do you want to be a chef instead of an over?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
I think they're asking if you could change
your job. Do you want to be a chef instead of an over?
Do you want to be a chef? Would you want to be a chef instead of an author?
Oh, no. No, because the job is just too hard. And I've heard that actually in restaurants, they really are mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, it feels no, not my thing.
Hey, stop. I've got a dog here that wants to come and say hello to everybody. Come up here.
Oh, I like this. We would love to see your dog.
She's from Street Dog Hero. I got her from Mexico.
Oh my God.
Well, I got her from Hood
Wow.
River, but she came up from Mexico.
Aww.
Okay, now please be normal. Okay, we're gonna do 3 more questions. So Alice, if you remember yours, let's go back to you.
So my question is, like, why did all the other people in the book think she was Chinese, not Taiwanese? if I pronounced it right.
Yes. Because it feels like there is I think a lot of times people see, Asian people, and they just assume that the person is Chinese, even though there are many, many countries in Asia. So I was just sort of, pointing it out a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good thing. All right, so we're going to do Chloe, and then it looks like Adeline has a question, and then we're going to finish with one from the chat. So these are the last three. So hold on. So Chloe, go ahead.
So have you read the series Keeper of the Lost Cities?
Oh, I have not, but my agent is actually her agent.
Oh.
We have the same agent. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so cool. I'm very happy to be sharing an agent with her. I've heard the books are amazing.
That's very cool. Yeah, thank you for that question. So hold on just 1 second. All right, Adeline, you go ahead and ask your question, and then I'm going to ask the last one from the chat. Go ahead.
So I have a few, but one of them is, did you like writing when you were a kid?
Let me think. I think I don't remember. What I do remember is that I had to write something for school for my teacher, and I had no idea what to write. And so I wrote something about being boring. And I think I got a D on it. I did not do well on that paper.
And then my other question is, with Cici, her parents had a lot of rules, kind of like no sleepovers, but did you have those rules too, or did you kind of just make them up?
No, we definitely had rules like that. My parents were really, really strict, right? You gotta get good grades, you must be studying all the time. They didn't even want me reading fiction books. The only things they wanted me to read were textbooks for class. Definitely no going out to hang out with friends. Definitely no sleepovers. Yeah, no.
Thank you for this.
One more question. So if you can create a food, what do you want to make?
Oh, I don't know, because there's so many things I want to make. I just bought 3 new cookbooks, and everything in it looks good.
It can be hard to decide what to make. So the last question in the chat is, what's your advice for writing? And so maybe if it's just 1 or 2 things, I know you mentioned you write early in the morning and scheduling it, but for our young audience, what's maybe the best way that you can think of to kind of get that started?
I think Lisa Cron's book, and I realize it's for adults, right? But one of the most important things that I got out of this book, which I had never heard in other, bye Ramona, from other either classes or teachers or other authors, is that really think about the character's emotions and what is the thing that the hurt that they had or the misunderstanding, because I think most people have some sort of hurt in their background, right? But we all have misunderstandings for sure. We think one thing, and then because of something that happens to us, some event happens or someone says something to us, and we take a message from that, right? And then later in life, we realize, oh, that thing that we thought is actually not true. And so this book is all about what is the thing that your character thinks is true, but during the book realizes it's not. And so the journey of your character making that learning from that mistake or mistaken idea is what your book is about. And of course, you know, and it's so it can be done in whether you're writing a mystery or a fantasy or science fiction. It all applies.
Yeah, excellent. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up. I just want to remind everyone that if you know someone who couldn't make it tonight, have them watch the video. If you are local to us here in Bend, Central Oregon, and you want a signed book plate, let us know at the store, because we're going to get some in the mail with the author's signature that you can slap inside your book, and you'll have a signed book. So if you have any more questions, you should check out her website, because I'm sure that there's an FAQ, or, you know, you might be able to, I don't know if you answer fan mail, I'm sure you get a lot, but you know, it's really great. Thank you so much for being here. I just want to remind all of our readers that if you have questions for authors, you should totally reach out and ask them. So many authors love hearing from their readers. So never be shy about emailing an author through their webpage and ask them their question, because they want to know what you liked about their book, or if you just have a question about a character. It's just, I mean, I think it's the coolest thing out there to talk to authors. That's why I do
Yes,
what I do.
I have a contact page on my website, so you can always contact me through that.
Yeah.
And then I also have a newsletter that you can sign up for. It's very sporadic, but I'm planning on putting one out like next week or something like that.
Excellent. Well, I hope to see more of you at the rest of our OBOB events, and maybe in person at some other events. We've actually been trying to get Jerry Kraft to come to town for quite some time. If that ever happens, I will let everyone know. Sorry. One last question. Are you going to write a sequel to Measuring Up?
I do not have a sequel to Measuring Up.
Okay.
My second book is Unhappy Camper.
Yeah,
which is
Happy
not a
Campers.
sequel.
It's still gonna be amazing. And then Cici will live on in Measuring Up. Everyone, please say thank you to Lily LaMotte for being here with us tonight. But I also want to thank all of you for making the time to come and chat with both of us, because we know you guys are so busy with school starting back up now too. So have a great night, everybody. Keep reading, and best of luck for everyone who's doing OBOB, okay? Let us know how it goes. Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, we've got tons of thank yous in the chat. All right. I'm going to stop the recording.
Okay.